It's only the 12th of January, but it's already been an annus horribilis for Prince Andrew, with his former accuser, Virginia Giuffre, claiming she was paid £12,000 by the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein to sleep with Prince Andrew. Meanwhile, his brother, the King, is preparing to withdraw private funding for security at the Royal Lodge, Andrew's 30-bedroom home in Windsor, where he has resided since 2003. But here's a question for you. Is there a risk that King Charles could be too tough on Andrew? Could Andrew do a Prince Harry, leave the country, write a book and spill the royal beans? Let's get the views now of one of the best-connected royal journalists in the country, royal expert, biographer and editor-in-chief of Majesty magazine, Ingrid Seward. Ingrid, lovely to have you back on the show. Happy New Year. If treated badly by his own family, could Prince Andrew fight back?
Well, he could fight back, but I don't think he's actually got the guts to do it. I think he's so surrounded with his royal life and always has been. I mean, he's nearly always lived in a palace, and he's certainly living in a pretty nice palace now. I don't think he would do it. I mean, he could go and write his story from his point of view, but he's already made a mess of that on his Newsnight interview. And unless he has a very good ghostwriter, no one is going to really be that interested in his single point of view. So he could do it. There's nothing to stop him. But I think so many columnists have said, what are we going to do with Prince Andrew? But I think what Prince Andrew should do is say to his brother, the King, look, I've made an absolute mess of everything. I think the gracious thing would be, here are the keys of Royal Lodge. You pay me the money that I've already put into it, which is, several £1 million. I'm going to go off, find somewhere much quieter and smaller to live. I don't even want Frogmore Cottage. I'm going further away, and just do the decent thing. And then I think he would get some serious brownie points from people, instead of people thinking that he is just somebody that seems to be on the take all the time.
Ingrid, can he afford to go it alone? Can he afford to sell up, move to a smaller place and see out his days in a comfortable fashion?
Oh, absolutely he can, because he's put an enormous amount of money into Royal Lodge, and that would be taken into account. He's paid rent up for another 25 years or something. That would be taken into account. His brother is not going to see him starve. And I think everyone says, oh, Andrew has no money, but it's inconceivable the Queen wouldn't have made some provision for him. She would have worried about him. So if he's all the trust that all the royal family have had run out, she would have made provision for him. So he has money. He may pretend he hasn't, but he definitely has money.
Let's bring, if we can, Ingrid, my fantastic Friday friends, in on this conversation. Broadcaster and writer Laura Dodsworth, barrister and former Tory MP Jerry Hayes. And let's pop everyone in boxes if we can, because I just want to ask you, Laura, how do you solve a problem with Prince Andrew? He's got good genetics. He's going to be around with any luck for many years to come. How does he approach the next couple of decades?
Well, I agree with Ingrid that he should just be as quiet and inoffensive as possible. It's seen as in his few public photo opportunities. He was seen going to church with the rest of the royal family, and even that then causes a debate. Oh, should he go to church? Well, he probably needs to do a bit of penance and a bit of prayer, but it could be in a church on his own somewhere, couldn't it? I think it's just such a difficult generation for the royal family. He's weighing like an embarrassing anchor around their ankles.
Careful with your language.
And he should really put
Wash your mouth
the
out.
Institution first.
Send it to the Tower.
He should put the institution first and go and retire somewhere very quietly.
Is that feasible, Jerry Hayes?
Well, no, not with him, because he's got no judgment. Prince Andrew doing the decent thing, as Ingrid said, I just can't see that happening. I really can't see that happening. All the people I know who know him, particularly in the Navy and the Falklands, saying he was just an arrogant piece of that sort of thing. He was absolutely dreadful. He doesn't take advice from people. He's not going to take advice from people now. The good thing, in his favour, he's got the King. And I know the King, not particularly well, but I know him when I was an MP, and he's a good, kind, decent man who who loves his brother and won't see him destitute. But will Andrew do the decent thing? It's like, will Boris... Well, never mind.
Yeah, that's. I think we can read between the lines there. Ingrid, what of the relationship between the King and Prince Andrew? It's obviously strained, but do they have a history of getting along?
They have a very big history of getting along. I mean, when Prince Andrew was born, Charles was away at school, but he was absolutely delighted with his little brother and really, took care of him, looked after him, read to him. And they haven't been particularly close, but Charles is a kind man. And also, I don't think he would want to throw his brother out of his own home, his home. I just think he won't want to do it. But I mean, I think he shouldn't have to do it. He really, really shouldn't. And I feel so strongly about this. Andrew's got to man up. I think we should be a campaign to make Andrew man up.
Yeah, that's the campaign I can get behind.
The rest of his family.
But let's talk, Ingrid, about a story that you've drawn my team's attention to. It's in the Mail. It's just, I think, popped onto their website. And it's about the late, great Queen Elizabeth II's final days.
Yes, the Mail is serialising a book by Robert Hardman, who is, one of their main royal commentators. And he has had incredible access, and he has got this story of the Queen's final hours. Apparently, according to Sir Edward Young, who is her private secretary, she died very peacefully. So no agony. We've read that, she was in agony, but she died very peacefully. Sadly, Charles wasn't there because he popped over to his house near Balmoral, which used to belong to the Queen Mother, to pick mushrooms and think, which sounds really weird, but it's very Charles. And Anne was at her mother's bedside. And Charles heard the news when he was driving back that actually the Queen had died. And I think in a way it kind of worked out quite well that the Queen should just be with her daughter, because also apparently she hated the idea of being surrounded by her family in her bedside for her dying moments, like you see in so many movies of kings and queens dying. I think she hated that idea. And she'd also worked that day or the day before on her red boxes and sort of say it was duty to the end. And I think it's rather a charming story, actually.
Ingrid, lovely to have you on the show. Ingrid is the editor-in-chief of the brilliant Majesty magazine. She's also the author of the best-selling biography of Prince Philip. It's called Prince Philip Revealed, a Man of His Century. Ingrid, look forward to catching up soon.